What's up, people? I hope life is great wherever you are, that you are enjoying with your people. My name is Pepe Cuenca. I am a Spanish Grandmaster. I was recording a game, I was analyzing a game between Nigel Short and Jan Timman in the Spanish community, and I found it extremely interesting. I also wanted to share with all you guys in the English section. And it was a game where the king in the middle game became the Chuck Norris of chess. It started to fight against everybody. It started to jump in the middle of the board. And I was so shocked when I saw this game that I couldn't resist to analyze and to share with all of you in Chess24. So I hope you guys fasten your seatbelts, because there's gonna be a lot of fireworks in this game. So I'm just gonna cut the bullshit as usual. I know that I talk too much, but let's just cut the bullshit and start analyzing what happened in this game in 1991 between two legends of chess, Nigel Short and Jan Timman. Okay, so Nigel decided to open with e4, and Jan Timman replied with knight f6, the Alekhine defense, right? Alekhine, as we say in Spanish. This defense is actually quite interesting. Of course, you can see it's some space in the center in the first moves, but then you are ready to strike in the center and to react in that center. So white normally plays e5, attacking this knight, occupying some center and some space. Knight d5 and d4, reinforcing that center, and you are ready to kick to start kicking that knight again from d5. So black played d6 in this position, and here different options. You can play c4, this is actually the main line, knight b6, and then if you are an aggressive player and you feel like trying to kick your opponent's ass from the beginning, you can play f4. This is a very strong, a very aggressive approach against the Alekhine. Or you can play after c4, knight b6, you can play e takes e6, as for example Niklas Huschenbeck recommends in our video series in Chess24. And after c takes d6, normally black intends to play with the fianchetto, and if black takes with the e-pawn, let's say e takes e6, normally he wants to develop via e7 with that bishop and then go short castle and knight c6. Alright, but in this game after d6, white went knight f3, of course reinforcing the center, d4 and e5. Again, here are different options. Bishop g4 is one of the main lines, g6 as Jan Timman played in the game. And for example, one trick that I managed to use in some games, mostly in internet, if after knight takes e5, if black goes knight d7, you can actually take on f7, and actually you got a lot of advantage here. King takes f7, there is queen h5, only move as king e6 here, not to lose the knight on d5, but then you are just much better with white here. Alright, so after knight f3, black went g6, and now bishop c4. Normal development move, intending to go short castle in the next move and also winning a tempo, since you are attacking this knight on d5. Black went knight b6, attacking this guy on c4, and Nigel Short retired this bishop to b3. This is actually the best square, since this diagonal is actually quite dangerous for black. The f7 pawn is actually extremely weak, and there are many tricks, as I'm gonna show you in the next moves. So bishop g7, preparing to go for short castles, and now different options, but the one that Nigel played is actually quite interesting. So queen e2, reinforcing again the center, avoiding some exchanges, some possible exchanges on the d file of queens. And yes, so queen e2 is a pretty natural move. Knight c6 at this point. Yeah, what I was about to tell you is actually with this pawn on e5, what you are trying to do is not only avoiding black to play comfortably in his space, but also you are putting this bishop out of play, right? The bishop from g7, that is usually one of the best pieces in the Alekhine. So knight c6, short castle now for white, and now one of the plans for black here in this Alekhine is, of course, you concede the center in the first stage, but then you wanna exploit that center, and of course you would like to put a lot of pressure on the e5 and d4, and this is how can be done. Sorry, of course, putting a bishop on g4, and now there will be a lot of pressure on the white center. But can you do it now already? No. The question is why? Why you cannot play bishop g4? There's a huge baboom here, and boom! Bishop takes on f7, king takes f7, and knight g5. regaining the piece on g4, and white is much better. So instead of bishop g4, of course, now black plays short castle, and now there is a positional threat, of course. If you go something normal like knight c3, that could be maybe one of your fair options in your mind, then bishop g4 is actually quite annoying, and there is an enormous pressure on the white center, and basically it's gonna collapse. Or basically you're gonna have to take on d6 or something, which is already a small win for black. So playing prophylactically, white played a3 by preventing bishop g4. As I told you, this ensures that black will be unable to lay siege to the e5 pawn, right? And after this move a3, we're still in theory. There are many gains after this position. One of the main options is knight a5. In the game, Timman played a5. So knight a5, the idea is pretty simple. You wanna gain the bishop pair, taking on b3. Let's say after knight c3, bishop takes, knight takes b3, a takes b3. Yes, black won the bishop pair, but white has a lot of space. You can continue with bishop f4, rook a d1, rook fe1, and a lot of pressure. You can also try to exchange the dark square's bishop by playing something like queen e3 and bishop a6. So this position is a little bit better for white, actually very comfortable. So black went a5. Of course, the first intention is just to win the piece. Don't blunder your pieces, guys. So that's why Nigel Short went a4, and now d takes e5. A sequence of moves that is actually quite interesting. So d takes e5, d takes e5, and knight d4. One of the ideas when you are suffering from lack of space is to exchange some pieces, right? Because this way you will have less pieces in your side, and then you will be able to coordinate them, to move them, and that's why this knight d4, I would say, is quite interesting. So takes, and now black is attacking the pawn on e5, right? It's impossible to defend with Facundo because there is a pin here, so you cannot play f4, you're gonna play bishop f4, so only move to defend this guy on e5 is rook e1. And then there have been many games in this position, well, not so many, but 10 or 20. In some of them, people play bishop e6. After bishop e6, e6, black has some counterplay against the f2 pawn, but it's not enough, and white is a little bit better. So in this game, Jan Timman decided to go for e6. Of course, stopping this bishop action in this diagonal. And now white developed this knight by a d2. d2 is actually a really interesting square. It's much better than c3, because from d2 you want to go to f3 to reinforce our best pawn, the pawn on e5. This pawn is not only avoiding this guy from entering in action, but also is controlling really important square like f6. This is a really weak square that we're gonna make use of in the next moves. Here, black has played, for example, bishop d7, and knight d5 is the move that Jan Timman played. Maybe intending to go b6 and bishop b7, and also whenever white plays c4, you got this nice b4 square for your knight. So after knight d5, white went knight f3, natural move, attacking the queen, queen c5, and now queen e4. Really interesting move by Nigel Short. And then if we would be in a broadcast and I would be asking you, okay guys, what do you guys think is the plan for white here in this position? Many of you would say a really interesting plan that is, okay, I want to go queen h4, I want to go bishop h6, I want to go knight g5, take on g7, queen takes a7 and kick your ass and send you home, right? Of course, this is a really interesting plan, and that's why Jan Timman played the next move. A really interesting move. This is actually a pawn sacrifice, this queen to b4. Well, the idea is very simple. You want to stop this queen from coming to h4, and of course, you can lose a pawn now after taking on d5, but after bishop takes d5, e takes d5, queen takes e5, bishop e6, black has a lot of counterplay. He's got the bishop pair, and all his pieces are developed now. You can make use of the d file as well in the next move, and white is not going to be able to develop easily this guy from c1 since b2 is hanging. So that's why this line was extremely interesting for white. But the way Nigel Short reacted to this queen b4 is even more interesting. He said, you know what, I don't care about my pawn structure, you can take it all. So he goes for bishop c4. A move that is actually really hard to play in a chess game, and you will see why in basically in two moves. The reason is that now black can play knight b6, and of course if you want to retire, you want to move now this bishop from c4, then black is even able to exchange queens, and then there's not going to be attack, and black is going to be quite solid. But Nigel Short's idea was to play b3 here in this position. The idea is, of course, that now black takes on c4 and you play b takes c4, but you keep your options of attacking on the king side. And Nigel trusted in these options, and he didn't care about this pawn on c4. This is actually a double-edged and very risky decisions, because of course if black manages to attack the pawn on c4, probably is going to take it, and then all these pawns are going to fall as well in some endgame. So you have to be really careful and really brave to play this bishop c4 idea and b3. Okay, so black played rook e8 in this position, and white went rook d1. Best move in the position, better than queen h4 straight away. If you go queen h4 straight away, you permit black playing b6 and bishop b7. And now your plan of kicking your opponent's ass just simply doesn't work. So b6, bishop h6, takes, and now you have this nice move, queen f8. Going back home, saying hi to your mom and your father, and then, of course, this queen on g7 is going to prevent every checkmate, and now you're going to play bishop b7, and black can even be better. This bishop is going to become a monster, and then you got the open file on the d file. So, and these three islands, very, very ugly for white. So that's why rook d1 now forces black to make you know, a useless move, because now he cannot play b6, he cannot go bishop d7 since this rook is controlling d7. Another idea of this rook on d1 is, of course, whenever black manages to play b6 and bishop b7, you're gonna have this rook d7 square for your rook, where you're gonna exert a lot of pressure on the 7th rank, right? So that's why now there's no useful moves for black in this position, and he went queen c5 now. And now that you have played rook d1, white went queen h4. b6 now, and bishop b3, winning a tempo. Okay, we don't need to say that after queen h4, if you take on e5, then there is boom, bishop e3, and then this queen cannot protect the bishop on e5, and basically white is just winning. So queen h4, b6, bishop e3, and here is where white commits the first we would say inaccuracy in this position, because Jan Timman went queen c6, the most human move. Why is the most human move? Because after bishop b7, then you're gonna have this battery here on this diagonal, and then you're gonna prevent this knight from coming on g5, since there's gonna be checkmate. But it was necessary to go to f8 according to the engines here in this position. Anyway, the position is really good for white until after knight g5, h5, and for example rook a b1. So you have c5 ideas. The bishop cannot come to b7 because of c5. Position is quite unpleasant for black. So after bishop e3, queen c6, now white went bishop a6, bishop a8, and now rook d8. Another really great move by Nigel Short. Of course, now you cannot take on d8 since there is checkmate. So black went bishop b7, creating this huge battery on this diagonal. And as I told you, of course, now white can never play knight g5 since there is checkmate. You don't want to have that on your board, man. So don't play knight g5 here. White went rook a d1, and you would say maybe, Pepe, what are you talking about? Why now black cannot take on d8 and play, for example, rook takes a d8, rook takes d8, and bishop g7? And the thing is, there's a huge tactical blow here in this position, and the boom is boom, queen e7, just winning on the spot, forcing rook takes d8, queen takes d8, and now there's checkmate. So that's why after rook a d1, black played bishop g7. Of course, now you are threatening to take on h6 and then on d8, and that's why Nigel Short came back with his rook to the 7th rank. And now there are many threats, so it's extremely difficult for black to make a move. It's extremely difficult for black to move the queen from c6, since if you take, for example, on a4, now you allow this knight moving it to g5, and now basically you're just losing, because we are going to take on g7, and then on h7, rook f7 is also coming. So basically white is simply winning here in this position. So after rook d7, the other option is queen e4 in order to exchange some pieces, but I think there is another huge tactical blow in this position. Boom! Rook f7. If you take on f7 with the king, there is a fork here, knight g5. If you take on h4, there is intermediate move, rook takes g7. G7, sorry. So after rook d8, d7, basically black cannot move the queen, cannot put a rook on d8, and we are, as I told you, we are creating so many threats on f7. That's why black went rook f8. So now maybe black is threatening to go queen e4 since there is no rook f7. After this point, white took on g7, king takes e7, and rook went to d4. An amazing move again by Nigel Short, controlling e4, controlling c4, and also, you know, maybe this rook can come to the action as well in some lines. Again, if you take on a4, there is knight g5, attacking on h7, attacking on f7, attacking this pawn on e6. Black is completely losing. So that's why after rook went to d4, black went rook a e8, basically cannot move barely any single piece. And now king f6, king g8, and h4. Of course, white's threat is to go h5 and h6. That's why black went h5. And at this point is where I want you to focus a little bit and to think about the position. The position is extremely uncomfortable for black. Basically, you cannot move a single piece. Let's count. You cannot move the king. You cannot move the king to h7 since f7 is hanging. For obvious reasons, you cannot move the rook on f8. Well, you can move this rook. This is one piece you can move. You cannot move the queen. Not to a4, not to c5, since then knight g4 is coming, since you wouldn't have checkmate on g2 anymore, right? Basically, you can just move the rook on e8 and the bishop from b7. You can move it to a6, to a8, or to c8, where actually it's maybe more interesting since you are kicking this rook. So it's like a suitband with all the heavy pieces in the board. So Nigel Short's plan is one of the most amazing plans that I've ever seen in a chess game. Basically, his plan was just to go king h2, king g3, king f4, king g5, king h6, and checkmate. That's why I entitled this video "When Your King Becomes a Spartan King," right? So the king in the middle of the board with all the heavy pieces goes all the way around to give checkmate. This is why this game is so amazing. Let's see how it continued. So Nigel Short went king h2, and Jan Timman played rook c8, remaining passive. But the thing is, bishop c8 actually it doesn't work at all. And there is an amazing combination again. The whole idea that we were checking whenever this bishop went back from b7 to another diagonal, or whenever this queen moved away from c6, was to move the knight to g5. And this actually works here as well, sacrificing a whole rook. Because after bishop takes e7, there is the amazing move g4. And basically, you cannot do anything. You cannot take on g4 because of h5. Next move is h6 and checkmate. If you take here, then queen h6, checkmate. The thing is, if you play, for example, queen c5, then just rook takes d7, just wins on the spot. We are taking on f7 and then checkmate. And the thing is, if you play bishop c8, for example, then takes on h5, and the same thing. You're gonna go h6, or after g takes h5, then queen h6, just wins on the spot. So bishop c8 doesn't work. So he went rook c8, king g3, rook e8, king f4, bishop c8, boom, king g5. And now, after bishop takes e7, he resigned here, but after bishop takes e7, king h6, this is just checkmate on g7. And if you go king h7, you can just take on f7, and then after king h8, just king h6. Basically, black cannot stop white from checkmating on g7 or on h7. So at least from my viewpoint, it's one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. I've got few more options and few more examples, that I also wanted to show you, but I will keep it for another video. I got few games like this where actually the king becomes the most important piece in the middle game. I hope you guys have enjoyed this game. For me, it was a pleasure to analyze it. Yes, so if you drink, don't drive. See you in the next video and have a nice day. Bye bye. Be good.